Hey guys, tonight we step into the shadows of a hill that doesn't look like much from the outside, but hides the most secretive tomb in all of China, the resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. Beneath the earth of Lintong lies a silent chamber sealed for more than 2,000 years, a place described in ancient texts as glittering with rivers of mercury and guarded by ingenious traps. Do you dare picture yourself descending into that darkness? Here's the playful warning. You won't survive the curiosity once we begin. Do you dare find out how it was done? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening right now, share your location and the time with mates. Always fascinating to know if you're tucked in at midnight in Toronto or winding down in a quiet Paris apartment at dawn. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. At first glance, the mound above Qin Shi Huang's tomb looks ordinary, like a natural hill, but beneath that quiet rise is a structure larger in volume than the Great Pyramid of Giza, and far more mysterious. This wasn't a simple grave, it was a kingdom in miniature, designed to outlast centuries. Imagine the labor. Records say hundreds of thousands of workers, maybe as many as 700,000, were conscripted to carve out halls, fortify walls, and fit chambers with bronze, lacquer, and stone. The emperor demanded permanence, and the cost was human lives. You can almost hear the hammering, the chiseling, the whispered fear of workers who knew they might never leave. Above ground, farmers stumbled in Mukngin Chin Chumbe Mubon onto what we now call the Terracotta Army. Thousands of clay soldiers, each unique, standing guard in perfect formation. These statues are the guardians, the outer walls of this hidden empire. And if this much was buried in the open pits, what lies inside the sealed heart? The warriors, after all, are only the first veil. The historian Sima Qian, writing a century after the emperor's death, described the tomb in astonishing detail. He claimed that rivers of mercury were poured into channels carved beneath the earth, replicating the geography of the empire itself. Above, a ceiling painted like the heavens, studded with pearls for stars, palaces, towers, even miniature official shawl created to ensure Qin Shi Huang ruled forever. Doesn't that sound more like a dream than a tomb? A kingdom where time itself stops, with stars that never set, and rivers that never dry. But here's the chilling part. Modern science backs up at least part of this tale. Soil surveys around the mound reveal abnormally high levels of mercury, far above natural background. It seems the rivers weren't just metaphor. They may still glisten down there, flowing silently around the emperor's coffin, toxic and shimmering. Perhaps the emperor, who once ingested mercury in his desperate hunt for immortality, now lies surrounded by the very element that hastened his death. Irony. Sealed in stone. Why not simply open it, then? Why not descend and finally see? Archaeologists explain, air destroys what time preserves. A single breath can collapse silk, shatter pigments, reduce lacquer to dust. Break the seal now, and treasures vanish before our eyes. Better to wait until technology can protect them. But waiting means leaving mysteries untouched, and mysteries grow heavier with every passing century. Don't you feel that tension between curiosity and caution? Legends add another layer. Traps. Some say crossbows lie in wait, strung to fire at intruders the moment doors creak open. Others imagine chambers rigged with poison, clever devices meant to punish the greedy. Maybe these are myths, but myths have power. No dynasty after Qin's dared to test them. Not the Han, who might have claimed the riches. Not the Tang, who ruled so close to Lintong. Each passed by, leaving the emperor undisturbed, as though some ancient warning still echoed from the soil. And then there is the silence itself. For over 2,000 years, the tomb has never been breached. Dynasties rose, collapsed, burned. Foreign armies invaded, warlords pillaged, revolutions shook the earth. Yet the emperor's chamber stayed untouched. Why? Perhaps reverence, perhaps fear, perhaps because the tomb itself feels alive, whispering to would-be intruders. Not yet. So tonight, we pause at the threshold. We imagine the glow of lanterns against the mound, the whisper of the night breeze, and beneath it all, the hum of mercury rivers no one has seen. Somewhere in that darkness, an emperor waits, his voice lost, his ambitions preserved, his chamber daring us to try. But tell me, what do you think lies beyond that first layer of soil? Treasures beyond imagination, traps no one dares to trigger, or something stranger still? Beneath the quiet mound, You can imagine a world carved out of darkness, a city hidden under layers of packed earth. Qin Shi Huang's tomb wasn't designed as a simple chamber for a coffin. It was conceived as an empire in miniature, a shadow reflection of the world he ruled in life. If the emperor could command armies, govern provinces, and reshape mountains above ground, then surely he deserved the same dominion below. And so, architects and laborers gave him what he demanded: an underground kingdom. Picture the layout. Ancient records describe avenues stretching through the soil, halls arranged like palaces, and towers recreated in model form. The chamber wasn't random stone and dirt, it was planned like a capital city. Imagine walking down a corridor with earthen walls smoothed by countless hands, the smell of lacquer and bronze still lingering in the air. Somewhere ahead, a miniature palace stands waiting, its roof tiles painted, its pillars adorned. This is not a grave, it's a stage set where eternity performs. Even the ceiling, if Sima Qian's words hold truth, was painted like the heavens. Tiny pearls or crystals embedded above to shine as stars, mapping constellations for an emperor who refused to lose his place under the sky. Imagine lying on the cold ground of that chamber, looking up, and seeing Orion sparkle above you, not in the night sky, but in a chamber that never sees dawn. Wouldn't that blur the line between life and afterlife, between reality and illusion? Archaeologists who study similar Han or Tang burials know that tombs often held models of granaries, stables, and kitchens. Servants in clay tended to them. Musicians in miniature struck silent chords, dancers frozen mid-step. If later emperors preserved such details, how much more lavish must Qin Shi Huang's original vision have been? Perhaps entire banquets were recreated, with bronze vessels sealed in lacquer, their contents long vanished, but their purpose still echoing. In such stillness, you can almost hear the faint clink of a wine cup, lifted in eternal ritual. And let's not forget the symbolism. The emperor had unified China through iron will, standardizing currency, weights, measures, even the script. His tomb echoed that same obsession with order. The world above was chaotic, full of rival kings and wandering armies. The world below was neat, perfect, mapped in miniature. Rivers marked with Mercury, mountains rising in clay, and a celestial ceiling shining in eternal stillness. Isn't it striking that he wanted his tomb not only to hold treasures, but to define reality itself? As you imagine this underground city, think of the laborers who built it. For them, it wasn't a mystical vision, it was endless toil. Cutting stone, hauling timbers, shaping bricks. Some say that workers were sealed inside to prevent secrets from leaking. Whether myth or truth, the idea lingers. An empire built by many, left for one. Their sweat hardened into the soil, their silence buried with the emperor's dreams. Modern surveys with radar confirm that beneath the mound lie vast, hollowed spaces, straight corridors, angled chambers, carefully aligned. These signals whisper of architecture that still endures, untouched since Haichanmui BCE. Scientists compare it to opening a time capsule. Each chamber is like a locked room from another world, holding air that hasn't been breathed in over 2 millennia. Just imagine an entire climate sealed away, the scent of the 3rd century BCE still trapped in darkness. Would you dare break it open, knowing that the first breath might also be the last moment of preservation? If the terracotta army above ground astonishes us with its sheer scale, then this subterranean city beneath the mound is its hidden crown. Thousands of soldiers stood watch outside, but inside, a kingdom lay ready to serve, to perform, to honor one man's eternity. You can almost picture the emperor's spirit pacing through those corridors, gazing at his painted stars, surveying the rivers of Mercury, ruling still over his quiet dominion. But if those rivers truly glisten in the dark, then what dangers flow with them? We'll need to linger on the strangest element of aliquid metal coursing like water in channels beneath the tomb. A detail so bizarre it once sounded mythical, yet may be truer than anyone expected. Deep inside the earth, where the air has not shifted in over 2 millennia, there is said to flow something unnatural. Rivers made not of water, but of liquid metal. Sima Qian, writing in the 1st century BCE, described Qin Shi Huang's tomb as a model of the world, with mountains sculpted in miniature and rivers rendered with mercury. For centuries, readers treated it as poetic exaggeration, a storyteller's flourish meant to glorify the emperor's ambition. But now, modern science has confirmed traces of truth. Soil samples around the mound show mercury levels far beyond the natural background. It is as if the earth itself has been poisoned by the emperor's obsession. Mercury, in those times, wasn't just a strange metal, it was considered mystical. The alchemists of the Qin court believed it contained the secret to immortality. Mixed into elixirs, it promised eternal life. The emperor drank it in desperation, convinced that swallowing liquid silver would keep him alive forever. Ironically, the very substance he ingested for longevity may have hastened his death, damaging his body from within. And now, that same mercury is said to surround him eternally, flowing in channels carved beneath the earth. Do you see the symmetry? The elixir that failed him in life may yet preserve his legend in death. Imagine walking through a chamber where liquid mercury shimmered in candlelight, reflecting the stars painted on the ceiling above. Streams twisting through the soil like molten silver veins, rivers that never dried, lakes that never evaporated. What would it feel like to stand before such a spectacle? The air heavy, metallic, almost toxic, each breath burning your lungs, beauty and danger bound together. Even now, archaeologists worry that digging too close might release vapors, invisible yet deadly. And mercury itself has another quality: it moves, it shimmers, it refuses to stay still. Unlike bronze or jade, which remain fixed, mercury dances at the slightest touch. Perhaps the emperor wanted that movement, that illusion of life. Rivers flowing forever in darkness, a kingdom that never froze. Picture him lying in his coffin, surrounded by these glistening channels, believing he had truly captured eternity. Doesn't it sound almost cinematic, like a dream sequence where the world bends to the will of one man? But here is the haunting thought. If the rivers still flow, then they might be intact, sealed away, waiting. 2,000 years have passed, and still the soil above measures high mercury. Could it be that deep below, the channels remain, shimmering silently, toxic and untouched? If scientists ever pierce the chamber, they may find not dry dust, but shining pools of liquid metal, dangerous, dazzling, and utterly unique. The presence of mercury also raises another puzzle. How did ancient engineers handle it? Even today, mercury is tricky to transport safely. In the 3rd century BCE, without modern tools, how did workers channel it into rivers without poisoning themselves? Did they use clay pipes, bronze vessels, clever techniques lost to time? Perhaps many perished in the process, their sacrifice unrecorded, their suffering dissolved in the very streams they created. The emperor demanded eternity, and human lives became the currency that paid for it. Standing above the mound now, archaeologists weigh risk against reward. Open the tomb, and you risk unleashing mercury vapors, contaminating not just the chamber but the land around it. Leave it sealed, and the mystery deepens, whispering louder with every passing year. Which choice is wiser? To know and risk destruction, or to wait and preserve ignorance? The decision lingers, like the metallic shimmer of mercury itself, always moving, never still. And yet, the rivers are not the only guardians of this tomb. Legends tell of devices built to defend the emperor's rest, traps waiting to punish the curious. Could it be that the mercury was not just decoration, but part of a greater defense system, deadly beauty designed to keep intruders away? Legends whisper that Qin Shi Huang's tomb was not left unguarded by chance. If the terracotta warriors above ground stand as a visible army, then the invisible defenses beneath the earth were meant to be just as formidable. Ancient texts hint at mechanisms deadly, ingenious, and hidden in darkness, waiting to punish anyone bold enough to trespass. Whether myth or reality, the thought alone has kept many hands from prying open the sealed chambers. Sima Qian's account suggests that crossbows were rigged inside the tomb, set to fire automatically at intruders the moment doors were opened. Imagine a system of levers and pulleys, strings wound tight with tension, bolts poised to release. In the stillness of an underground chamber, the faintest creak could have unleashed a rain of arrows. Even after 2,000 years, one can't help but picture the sudden snap of ancient bowstrings, the whisper of bolts cutting through stale air. Were these devices real? Some engineers believe it was possible, given the Qin dynasty's mastery of mechanics. After all, they standardized weapons, built massive infrastructure, and left behind the terracotta army, proof that their skills went far beyond the ordinary. But traps may not have been only mechanical. Some tales speak of toxic barriers, chambers laced with harmful substances, or floors designed to collapse under weight. Perhaps the mercury itself wasn't just symbolic rivers, but also a deterrent, a poisonous moat that would make any trespasser hesitate. Imagine standing before a shimmering channel of liquid silver, knowing one false move could mean breathing vapors that eat at your lungs. Death not by arrow, but by the air itself. Doesn't that sound like the most chilling kind of trapone that waits patiently, invisible, inevitable? Still, skeptics argue that many of these stories grew out of imagination. No one has actually seen these devices in action. Archaeologists have opened other, smaller tombs from the Qin and Han dynasties without finding elaborate traps. Yet the legend persists, growing stronger with every century of silence. Perhaps it isn't the actual danger that matters, but the belief in it. A belief so powerful that entire dynasties refuse to test their luck. In a way, the legend itself has become the most effective defense mechanism. Think too about the psychology of it. Qin Shi Huang ruled with fear as much as with laws. He burned books, executed scholars, forced labor on colossal projects, and demanded absolute obedience. Wouldn't it make sense for his tomb to embody the same philosophy? Fear as a weapon, even after death. The emperor's reputation alone could guard his chamber more effectively than any locked door. Even now, the whispers of traps serve his will deterring us, centuries after his body turned to dust. And yet, one can't help but wonder, if we were to open the chamber today, would we find crossbows still strung, waiting to fire after 2 millennia, or would we discover nothing but rusted fragments, their danger long since faded? The thought lingers, balanced on the edge between legend and reality. That edge is precisely where the tomb keeps us hesitant, curious, never certain. So the question remains, are the defenses of Qin Shi Huang's tomb still active, or is it the curse of memory that keeps us away? The answer may lie not in arrows or poisons, but in the stories people have told for centuries that transform ordinary chambers into sanctuaries of dread. But if traps can be explained by engineering, what about the darker whispers, the so-called curse, that hangs over the emperor's resting place? Perhaps it is not devices, but fate itself, that warns us to keep away. Whispers of a curse cling to Qin Shi Huang's tomb like mist to a mountain at dawn. It isn't written in official records, nor proven by archaeology, but it lingers in stories passed down through generations. People who live near the mound sometimes lower their voices when they speak of it. They say the emperor does not sleep quietly. He guards his secrets with more than stone and soil. He guards them with misfortune. The idea of a tomb curse is not unique to China. You've probably heard of the so-called curse of Tutankhamun in Egypt, when several people connected with the opening of the pharaoh's tomb died unexpectedly. Whether by coincidence, illness, or bad luck, such stories stick to the imagination. They warn us that there are places humans were not meant to touch, thresholds that should remain sealed. Qin Shi Huang's tomb has never been opened, but the fear of a curse has been enough to keep spades away for centuries. Doesn't it seem as though the emperor's shadow still commands obedience, even now? Legends say that anyone who dares to pierce the tomb will suffer calamity, illness, madness, sudden death. Some believe that Mercury vapors themselves are the curse, invisible and lethal. Others think it's spiritual, the wrath of ancestors, or the emperor's ghost demanding vengeance. Still others see it as psychological. When you expect doom, you find it everywhere. And yet, the result is the same. Hesitation, caution, delay. No dynasty after Qin's touched the tomb, even though many could have. The Han could have stripped it for wealth, the Tang could have claimed it for glory, but none dared. Was it respect, or was it fear? In local villages, parents used to warn children not to wander too close to the mound. Some said lights flickered at night, as though lanterns moved across the hilltop. Others whispered of strange illnesses among those who dug too near. Perhaps these are superstitions, but superstitions shape behavior as strongly as walls or weapons. And isn't it fascinating how silence it have never opening the tomb allowed those stories to grow? A closed door invites rumor, while an open one only reveals dust. Even modern researchers feel the weight of such tales. Of course, they speak in scientific terms: chemical risk, conservation damage, ethical responsibility. But behind the language, there is still that unease, that sense of standing on forbidden ground. To cut into the mound feels less like an excavation, more like a violation. Do you sense it too? That tingle, when you imagine stepping into a place no human has entered in 2,000 years, knowing every footstep might awaken something better left undisturbed. And yet, curses also reveal something about us. They show how much we crave mystery, how much we want to believe that power continues beyond death. Qin Shi Huang wanted to rule forever, and in a way, he does, because even in death, his tomb shapes our choices. We hesitate, we wonder, we fear. His command still echoes. Do not enter. So is the curse real, or just a story we tell ourselves? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the fear is enough. After all, what's more powerful than a defense you never have to trigger because no one dares to test it? Still, science is patient, and curiosity grows louder with each decade. Myths hold us back, but technology beckons us forward. If we do not rely on shovels, but on beams of light and particles from the cosmos, perhaps we can peer inside without ever opening a door. Science today stands at the threshold of Qin Shi Huang's tomb, peering into the soil not with shovels or chisels, but with light, sound, and particles. The tools are different, the curiosity the same. For centuries, no one dared open the chamber. Yet in the last few decades, technology has allowed us to press our eyes against the locked door without turning the key. Ground-penetrating radar sends waves into the mound, bouncing back to reveal hollows and shapes. It's like giving the Earth an X-ray. From these scans, researchers have traced corridors, measured voids, and outlined chambers that confirm the tomb is vast, complex, and carefully structured. It is no random pile of soil, it is an engineered city beneath the ground. Doesn't that give you chills? Knowing that under an ordinary hill, precision architecture has been hiding for 2,000 years. Then there are monster particles that rain down from cosmic rays, passing through solid stone like ghosts. By studying how many wounds penetrate different depths, scientists can map density inside the mound. If a section blocks fewer muons, it means there's a hollow space, a chamber waiting. It's the closest thing we have to seeing in the dark without breaking a seal. Imagine the poetry of it. Stars above send particles through the sky, and those particles help us glimpse a chamber painted with stars below. The heavens revealing the heavens. Soil chemistry has also told its story. Samples from the site reveal mercury concentrations far higher than normal. If Sima Qian's description of mercury rivers was once doubted, the Earth itself seems to nod in agreement. High readings form patterns that hint at channels, as though liquid silver still outlines the empire below. The fact that these traces exist after centuries of rain and erosion suggests the concentration inside could be staggering. And so, modern science and ancient text seem to point in the same direction, rivers of mercury still flowing in the dark. But with each glimpse, caution grows. Archaeologists know that even opening smaller side pits near the terracotta army led to pigments vanishing in seconds once exposed to air. Colors that had endured for millennia crumbled to grey dust in the blink of an eye. If fragile lacquer, silk, or parchment exists in the main chamber, they too would be destroyed instantly by careless exposure. It's a paradox. To preserve the past, we must leave it untouched. And so, researchers walk a narrow line. Technology allows us to know more. Yet the more we know, the more aware we are of the risks. Each radar scan, each soil test, deepens both knowledge and hesitation. The tomb becomes clearer in outline, but still unreachable in essence. Like a dream just out of grasp, you can see the shape but never touch it. You can almost picture the scene today. Scientists gathered at the site, screens glowing in the night air, lines and patterns forming from invisible waves. They watch the Earth reveal hints of its secrets, but not enough to satisfy. It's as though the Emperor teases us just enough to keep curiosity alive, never enough to surrender his mysteries. And perhaps that's fitting. Qin Shi Huang sought eternity, not only in life but also in legend. And isn't legend best preserved by silence? If we knew every detail, perhaps some of the magic would fade. For now, science keeps us poised on the edge, peering into shadows but never stepping inside. Still, the deeper mystery remains. What lies in the forbidden core? The innermost chamber, where the Emperor himself rests. The scans tell us there is something there, but not what. And maybe that's the most haunting question of all. At the center of all the whispers, legends, and scientific surveys lies the forbidden core burial chamber of Qin Shi Huang himself. Everything else, from the terracotta army to the radar scans, is only a prelude. The true secret, the Emperor's final stage, remains untouched. What might wait inside? Scholars imagine a coffin of bronze or jade, perhaps resting within nested caskets, surrounded by treasures meant to serve an emperor beyond death. Ancient records hint at scrolls, documents, and maps, which, if real, could revolutionize our understanding of early China. Imagine uncovering texts that predate the Han Dynasty, written in the hand of the men who first forged a unified empire. What forgotten histories, what hidden decrees might lie waiting on silk or bamboo slips fragile, silent, and easily destroyed by a careless breath? The artistry could be breathtaking. In smaller kin tombs, archaeologists have found lacquered vessels, bronze mirrors, and delicate ornaments of jade. If ordinary nobles were buried with such care, then the emperor's chamber might contain wonders beyond imagination. Ceremonial weapons, gleaming with gold inlay, intricate ritual bells that once called spirits, perhaps even life-sized figures cast in precious metal. And yet, the tragedy of preservation looms. Expose them too soon, and all that beauty may vanish in seconds. Think, too, of the atmosphere inside. For over 2,000 years, the chamber has been sealed, a world of its own. The air could be toxic, heavy with mercury vapor, saturated with ancient chemicals. It would not smell like dust alone. It would carry the breath of antiquity, sharp and alien. The first person to step inside, if that ever happens, would not just be entering a room. They would be inhaling a climate untouched since High Tramway BCE. Can you imagine how strange, how overwhelming that first breath might be? Some speculate that the chamber could hold automata, mechanical figures powered by ancient ingenuity, ready to move at the pull of hidden weights or flowing water. It may sound fanciful, but we know that early Chinese engineers were skilled in hydraulics, gears, and clever devices. Could the emperor have demanded guardians that not only stood in silence but moved? Perhaps even now, dormant machines wait in the dark, their ropes and pulleys long decayed, their silence more haunting than motion ever could be. And then there is the question of the emperor himself. Did Qin Shi Huang's body survive the centuries, embalmed in secrecy, or has it returned entirely to dust? Some imagine him lying in a sealed sarcophagus, armored in jade plaques sewn with gold thread. Others suspect that time, moisture, and mercury have erased all but fragments. Whichever is true, the answer will define how we view his quest for immortality. If his body still lies preserved, it would seem he achieved in death what he never managed in life. If not, then the irony grows deeper. An emperor who sought eternity, consumed by the very element he trusted. The forbidden core tempts us like no other mystery. It holds the promise of rewriting history, dazzling the eye, and satisfying a curiosity 2 millennia old. And yet, the cost of opening it might be losing everything in an instant. Isn't it haunting to know that the greatest secret of ancient China may never be revealed, not because we can't reach it, but because reaching it could destroy it forever? And so, we stand at the threshold, knowing the emperor rests inside, surrounded by a city of shadows, treasures, and silence. But if this is his eternal chamber, what should we do to open it and risk annihilation, or leave it untouched and let the mystery breathe forever? To stand before the mound of Qin Shi Huang's tomb is to face a dilemma that has haunted scholars, archaeologists, and dreamers alike for centuries. Do we open the chamber, or do we wait? The question is deceptively simple, but the answer touches history, science, ethics, and imagination all at once. On one side, curiosity calls. The tomb is the last unopened wonder of the ancient world. The pyramids of Egypt have been explored, the temples of the Maya mapped, but here, beneath a grassy hill in Shaanxi province, lies an untouched world built by the first emperor of a unified China. To open it would be to shine a light on secrets hidden for over 2 millennia, treasures, texts, and knowledge that could reshape our understanding of the ancient world. Imagine discovering scrolls that reveal how Qin's government truly functioned, or artifacts that redefine early Chinese art and engineering. To hesitate feels almost like denying ourselves the chance to expand history itself. Yet on the other side is caution, and with good reason. Every archaeologist remembers the terracotta warriors, when the figures were first unearthed, their bright pigments vivid reds, greens, and purples faded to dust within hours of exposure. Centuries of preservation undone in seconds. The main chamber could hold wonders far more fragile. Silk, lacquer, parchment, pigments that would vanish in the instant they met our air. Once destroyed, they cannot be recovered. Isn't it heartbreaking to think that by trying to save history, we might lose it forever? Then there is the question of respect. Qin Shi Huang was ruthless in life, but even he deserves a measure of rest in death. To open his chamber is to violate that rest, to disturb a silence that has endured for 2,000 years. Some argue that leaving the tomb sealed is not cowardice, but wisdom, allowing future generations, with better tools and gentler methods, to approach when the time is right. After all, isn't patience itself a form of reverence? And yet, waiting is not easy. Technology advances, curiosity grows, and myths multiply. Each decade adds new layers of speculation. Are there rivers of Mercury still shimmering in the dark? Are there traps poised to strike? Is the Emperor's body preserved, or has it dissolved entirely? The longer we wait, the louder these questions echo, and the harder it becomes to resist the temptation to look. Perhaps the truest answer is balance. Science today allows us to scan, test, and measure without breaking the seal. In doing so, we respect the chamber's integrity while still learning. But one day, perhaps centuries from now, tools may exist that can open the tomb without destroying it, preserving both its treasures and its mystery. Until then, the mound remains a riddle, half known, half dreamed, and maybe that is fitting. Qin Shi Huang wanted to rule forever, and in a sense, he does. His tomb shapes our choices, fuels our imagination, and commands our caution. Even in silence, he still governs the way we think about the past. Isn't that a form of immortality? So tonight, as we drift away from the thought of his underground kingdom, let the question linger. Is it better to satisfy curiosity now, or to preserve mystery for tomorrow? Perhaps the Emperor himself would smile at our hesitation, pleased that even in death, he still holds the power to keep us waiting. Now, let's slow our steps and let the imagery soften, like lanterns fading in the distance. We've walked through corridors of imagination tonight, past armies of clay, over shimmering rivers of Mercury, through whispers of traps and curses, and finally into the quiet dilemma of whether to open the Emperor's chamber at all. The story has carried us downward, deeper and deeper, until we stood at the very heart of the mound, listening to silence older than nations. But here, at the close, we step back. The tomb remains sealed, and that is perhaps the gentlest ending of all. We don't have to force the door open in our minds. We can let the mystery stay whole, untouched, the way a dream lingers just beyond memory when you wake. Sometimes the unknown is the most comforting place to rest, because it allows the imagination to wander without limit. So breathe slowly now. Picture the grassy mound under the night sky, still and quiet, the air cool, the stars steady above. Beneath that soil, nothing moves, nothing disturbs the Emperor's eternal rest. Above, the world continues on winds, blowing across fields, lanterns flickering in villages, you listening wherever you are. The contrast is soothing. Silence below, gentle life above. Let that calm settle into your thoughts. Your breathing, steady, your body, sinking into the comfort of the present moment. The Emperor's secrets will wait. They always have, and they always will. You don't need to solve them tonight. All you need is the quiet reassurance that mystery can be a pillow, a soft place to lay your mind. So close your eyes, let the echoes fade, and drift gently into rest. The tomb sleeps, and so can you.